everybody knows Zobo. Zobo is very common in Northeast. They use it.
President Muhammadu Buhari joins other world leaders in the United States of America to discuss nuclear security.
I'm happy to report now that all the 4 turbines that were down, 3 have been restored, and so there's stability now.
Expect improvement in electricity supply, Minister of Power tells Nigerians.
It's not true that the president has refused to assent to the budget. The fact of the matter is that it is not even before him.
No rift between the executive and the legislature. Information Minister clarifies issues. And Committee on Internally Displaced Persons Needs Assessment submits report. A very good evening and thanks for joining us on the NTA Network News at 9. I am Fumi Wakama. President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to make a submission on the right of Nigeria to the use of nuclear energy for development purpose at the Nuclear Energy Security Summit in Washington, D.C. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president, on arrival at the United States Capitol, was met by United States government officials, acting ambassador of Nigeria to the United States, ministers and other senior government officials. World leaders are expected to deliberate on measures to reinforce international commitments to the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons.
This summit is about how nuclear energy can be deployed towards socio-economic development. And it is good for Nigeria because, you know, we are trying to get power going, and we can use nuclear energy as part of the development of our power sector.
There is need for sustained effort to keep bad people from having access to this material. As an agency, it's actually our mandate.
The president has been speaking on the need for the International Atomic Agency to support Nigeria's aspiration to generate electricity with nuclear energy. During the visit, the president is expected to hold bilateral meetings with some participating heads of state and government on areas of common interest. And still on the president's visit to the United States government is pledged to massively support the President Buhari administration towards the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the Northeast, badly devastated by the Boko Haram insurgency. The Secretary of State, John Kerry, who made the pledge at a bilateral meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari in Washington, D.C., also promised greater United States participation in Nigeria's efforts at the recovery of looted funds stashed abroad. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has to report.
At the bilateral meeting between President Muhammadu Buhari and the United States Secretary of State John Kerry, efforts at sanitizing Nigeria through the fight. From Washington, D.C., Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Nigeria and the United States are coming out of their 2-day binational commission meeting stronger by agreeing to forge ahead in their bilateral relations. This is with a view to achieving shared prosperity through determined leadership. Adeyemi Omojola Fatoba reports that though all the sessions were closed to the media, briefings by the two countries indicate the establishment of healthy and strong bilateral ties.
Priorities include security cooperation, governance and democracy, as well as economic growth and development. And the takeaway is the absolute commitment of the two countries to their shared values.
Nigeria and the United States utilized the binational commission meeting to map out the next steps of cooperation in the identified areas of need. At a joint address session, Minister of Foreign Affairs Geoffrey Onyema was emphatic on President Muhammadu Buhari's commitment to put Nigeria on a path of sustainable growth through economic diversification.
We really have to do a lot more to make Nigeria an attractive place for business. We have to work on the new branding. Mr. President is absolutely determined to do that, to have a more transparent environment for foreign direct investment.
The minister, who thanked the U.S. government for its support in the fight against insurgency in the Northeast, added that Nigeria is gradually defeating the scourge and would not relent until it is completely defeated. Earlier, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry acknowledged Nigeria as a responsible international partner well-positioned to the regional and global problem-solving, adding that with an almost boundless capacity for economic growth the country is endowed with, the future is very bright.
So the United States, let me be clear, is very encouraged by President Buhari's commitment to an economy that is more diversified, less dependent on a single commodity for export earnings, and that means we need to develop sustainability. Sustainable growth depends on a climate that is welcoming to investment and respectful of the environment and of workers' rights.
In an interview with Foreign Affairs Minister Geoffrey Onyema said,
Going forward, we have a partner that is ready to engage with us in every aspect of our development agenda.
It is the expectation of both countries that there will be success stories to share at the next Binational Commission meeting. From the State Department in Washington, D.C., Adeyemi Omojola Fatoba, NTA News.
And back home, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says there is no disagreement whatsoever between the executive and the legislature on the 2016 budget, which has just been passed by the National Assembly. The minister stated this when he visited the corporate headquarters of the leadership newspapers as part of his continuous engagement with stakeholders in the media industry. Anthony Forson reports.
The minister described as untrue that the president refused to sign the appropriation bill passed by the National Assembly.
There's absolutely no rift between the executive arm of government and the legislative arm of government. And it's not true that the president has refused to assent to the budget. And the fact of the matter is that it is not even before him.
Explaining further on the budget, Lai Mohammed
Going to become a catalyst for agriculture, to become a catalyst for employment. Because when you target 4.5 million students a day, even if they are taking just one egg a day, you're talking about 4.5 million eggs. The fifth tranche of it is what we call the conditional cash transfer, which again has been largely misunderstood. Cash transfer is not meant for unemployed graduates. Cash transfer is meant for the most vulnerable Nigerians. And who are these vulnerable Nigerians? They are largely widows, aged people, disabled people, and women. And we are working closely with the Bill Gates Foundation, the World Bank, DFID, and other multinational companies that have done it before in other parts of the world.
The minister also disclosed that the sum of 350 billion naira will soon be injected into the economy to enable contractors return to site on abandoned projects with timeline and targets on project delivery and job creation. Lai Mohammed restated that rather than give excuses, government is working round the clock to alleviate the pains of Nigerians. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, has challenged resident information officers attached to ministries, departments and agencies to see their role as critical in ensuring that they fill the gap in the information gathering and dissemination chain. The minister was speaking at a meeting with the IROs in Abuja. Anthony Forson again reports.
The minister said the meeting is geared towards enhancing the realization of his vision of leveraging on the power of information and culture to drive the change agenda.
This is because unless you perform at an optimal level, there will be a huge gap in the information gathering dissemination chain. After all, our ability to keep Nigerians adequately informed about the goings-on in government is hinged on how well you are able to give us the much needed feedback from your various postings.
He maintained that as information officers, they need to brace up and strategically communicate this administration's efforts effectively.
We are the center point of all MDAs, hence we cannot afford to fail. The challenge before us as federal government information managers, therefore, is to ensure that we keep Nigerians duly informed of the activities of government and get a feedback from people using all our professional and ethical skills.
He appealed to them to continuously formulate and articulate dynamic communication patterns. As officers of the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, they must not fail to liaise with the parent ministry for harmony.
You are specially trained and oriented to perform the onerous function of facilitating the dissemination of factual, accurate, and timely information about government to Nigerians.
In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says Nigeria now has a unique opportunity to become a great country with a
before self and God above all, because it's only by the special grace of God that we all succeeded in our various endeavors.
Members of the Vice President's class at the meeting included legal practitioners from across the country and beyond, including from Cameroon. They are made up of justices, serving and retired, notable law teachers and lawyers. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
A team set up by government on resettlement and needs assessment of internally displaced persons in the Northeast has submitted its report. The outcome of the assessment is expected to form the tool for a coordinated implementation of programs by government and development partners to bring peace to the Northeast. State House correspondent Jide Onifade again reports.
This was the event in January this year where the group received its mandate to look into areas of peace building and social cohesion, infrastructure and social services, and economic recovery of victims of insurgency in the northeast Nigeria. 2 months after, they returned to give report of their assessment of the situation in the affected states of Adamawa, Borno, Bauchi, Gombe, Taraba, and Yobe. The process, as explained by the team, includes data collection from past and ongoing intervention by the federal, state, and local governments, and filling the gaps that exist.
Showing us what the damages are, it's showing us what the needs are, and it's going to help in planning, in sequencing the interventions that will be provided in the Northeast as part of the recovery process.
At this workshop, detailed scrutiny of the assessment will be done to examine which aspect will take a lead for implementation based on resources available.
We are very satisfied with the way this has been put together, and also with the leadership that we have seen from the federal government, the Vice Presidency office, and also from the different states. They have all been involved in this exercise.
The way forward is on how to translate these findings, these recommendations into an action plan.
And we are optimistic that at the end of this report, something very good will come to the people of Borno State, to the people of the entire Northeast sub-region and Nigeria in general.
The Recovery and Peace Building Assessment is an aspect of the resettlement efforts by the federal government, supported by the development partners. This is an enormous task, and so also is the commitment by the federal government to ensure that peace return to every corner of the country. In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The Information and Culture Minister, Lai Mohammed, was in Doha, Qatar recently, where he attended the 2016 edition of the International Press Institute's Congress. The minister at the Congress took part in discussions where the safety of journalists was widely discussed.
That rapport between the state and the media, and this can be achieved easily if there's understanding and give and take between the two organizations.
A documentary on the minister's visit will be aired on the network service of the NTA by 10 o'clock immediately after the NTA Network news. All NTA stations are to hook up for the program. You're watching the NTA Network news. Ahead on the news tonight, fuel to flow freely following the resolution of the crisis between the two factions of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. Details when we come back.
You hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter. That might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106.
As a restaurant owner, I always do my best to please my customers, even when I get a large crowd. Now, with new Tastic, everything is so much easier. Just look at this smooth, lump-free semolina and the fiber-rich whole wheat meal. That's my fantastic Tastic.
It's got to be Tastic.
My customers are assured of fantastic meals served perfectly every time. So everything doesn't always go as planned. But our meal is always perfect with Tastic.
Got to be Tastic.
Serve fantastic new Tastic, your perfect meal partner.
You get 3 kinds of mums. The paranoid mum, the cautious mum, and the Dettol mum. She only trusts Dettol antiseptic liquid to protect her family from up to 100 illness-causing germs, and it's recommended for cuts and scrapes. Which is why you can worry less and love more. Don't just be any mom, be a Dettol mom.
The Petroleum Technology Development Fund, PTDF, announces the final screening process of the award of 2016-2017 Overseas Scholarship Scheme to deserving candidates from across the country. Consequently, the fund advises all those who submitted electronic applications for PTDF Overseas Scholarship to visit PTDF website www.ptdf.gov.ng, where the names of shortlisted candidates for the mandatory electronic aptitude test have been published. Please note that the electronic aptitude test is scheduled for Saturday, April 2nd, 2016, simultaneously in 3 designated centers as follows: Abuja for North Central, North East and Northwest candidates, Lagos for Southwest candidates, and Port Harcourt for South South and Southeast candidates. The time and venue for the aptitude test will be sent to shortlisted candidates through email and SMS. Selection for the award will be based strictly on performance in the aptitude test. Signed, Management.
Would you like some water? It's cold, especially for you.
Which era are you living in? We have a fridge.
When everything else in your house is from the present, then why are your toilet cleaning methods from the past? Harpic, all-in-one for you. Compared to other toilet cleaners, Harpic removes top stains, kills all germs, and removes bad odors. For a shining, clean, and fresh toilet.
Wow.
You should also take the Harpic
all-in-one challenge.
Mommy more, where would I be without you? Now you be my best friend, now you be my sister, now you be my mentor, and you are still my mama.
Mama na kay nakatay, kibani doya de wake, mama no lazy. You help me reach my peak in mama. Now you wash, my infant head, oh.
as the 4 turbines that were down have been restored. He disclosed this while supervising the signing of a partnership agreement between the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company and Geometric Power Limited to provide electricity to Aba Metropolis. Isaac Nkoma reports.
With the signing of this document, the dispute between the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company, Interstate Power Limited and Geometric Power Limited, as well as Aba Power Limited, which has lasted for almost 2 years, over who transmits and distributes electricity in the Aba and Ariaria business districts, has been resolved, with future collaborations between the parties sealed for sufficient power supply in the southeast.
So happy to report now that all the 4 turbines that were down, 3 have been restored, and so there's stability now. And again, it's important why the power coming from Aba is defining. About 200 megawatts coming from there is good news for the market. It adds to what we have.
It's a win-win situation, both for us and for them, as well as for government, because this government has resolved a major issue.
Today, I can say that with the agreement we have signed, we have now positioned properly to deliver more power to people in the East very soon.
Recorded as the first major crisis in the private sector-driven power market, the dispute followed the sale of the Aba Ring Fence, which is made up of 9 local government areas in Abia State, to the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company in November 2014, after Aba Power Limited had signed an agreement with the federal government in 2005 to see how power can be generated and delivered reliably to Aba and environs as a modem for indigenous power generation. It took the intervention of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, and other interested parties to resolve the matter out of court. In Abuja, Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
The 2 factions of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, have resolved the crisis within the association with a commitment to end the lingering fuel scarcity in the country. This followed the intervention by the Minister of Petroleum Resources, Dr. Emmanuel Ibekachukwu, and the constitution of a 14-man committee to restore peace to the association. The minister noted that as critical stakeholders in the downstream subsector, IPMAN is central and must work as a united entity with relevant agencies. IPMAN National Secretary Danladi Pasali expressed the association's resolve to collaborate with government towards ensuring that the nation is wet with the product within the next 2 weeks.
Agency and parastatals to make sure that present fuel scarcity will become a thing of the past.
Good news to my ears there. And the federal government has resolved to provide an enabling environment for public partnership in the mining sector with a view to harnessing its huge potentials to stimulate economic growth and development. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Kayode Fayemi, stated this while receiving a roadmap for the development of the sector by the Ministerial Committee in Abuja. Olajide Bello has that report.
Inaugurated on March 1, 2016, the 14-member Roadmap Committee was saddled with the responsibility to critically assess the challenges confronting the sector and provide solutions. Some of the recommendations by the committee include implementing a roadmap, boosting domestic production, strengthening the ministry to perform oversight functions, as well as resolve public assets.
If the cadastral system works well, the minister has no business in bothering which license are not working, because the cadastral system and the inspectorate ought to manage that effectively.
Describing mining industry as a key area of focus by the federal government, the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Kayode Fayemi, says the ministry is charting the path for sustainable growth in this sector.
We need to flush those who are illegal out of the sector, whilst at the same time supporting those who are genuinely interested in mining. The challenge is to strengthen their capacity to act as pathfinders, to organize themselves better into cooperatives, to support them with access to finance, and to support them with access to mining equipment and technology.
The minister assured that the roadmap will be subjected to
the indication when the acting British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Simon Sharcliffe, visited the ministry to intimate him with the progress of the digital switchover program in Nigeria. Justin Bem-Uyi has the report.
With the June next year target for Nigeria to completely switch over from the analog to digital television transmission program now drawing closer, the country is on its toes to explore every available means to welcome the full digitization initiative. Now, the British government indicates its willingness to make deep and far-reaching investments in the digital switchover program in Nigeria as yet another means to further strengthen and maintain the current flagship partnership it has with the Nigerian government. The acting British High Commissioner to Nigeria, as he visited the Minister of Science and Technology, says there is every need to ensure the two governments understand each other better and identify areas to work and cooperate together to a mutual advantage.
There are many areas where the UK and Nigeria can work together in industry, in research, and indeed in other areas where science and technology play a part.
The Minister of Science and Technology assured of the ministry's cooperation in promoting technology investments in the country, adding that the ministry has existing technology growth incentives to further fast-track technology transfer.
We also believe that components that should come to facilitate this digital switchover, that it will be of great benefit to our nation, to Nigeria, if they are manufactured here in Nigeria. That way it will be easier for technology to be acquired by Nigerians. It will also help in creating more jobs.
Justin Bem-Uyi, NTA News.
35 staff, including the Acting Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority, Philip Ofuegbo, were inducted as members of the Institute of Strategic Customer Service and Trade Management. The Acting Director General of the NTA challenged fellow members to uphold the virtues that qualified them for the membership of the Institute and work hard in promoting the good image of the organization. Saliu Abdullahi reports.
The Institute of Strategic Customer Service and Trade Management, with over 600 members,
Human Gab invaded the corporate headquarters of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, who witnessed their arrival, reports that the lions did not cause any harm as they left the NTA happy and fulfilled.
Lions usually known for defending its integrity wherever it finds itself. It is with the same mentality that these 5 lions invade the office of the Director General of the NTA. Well, at this time, not for any harm, but to solicit the support of Africa's largest TV network in defending the integrity of the less privileged, especially in the areas of support for those with sight challenges.
When we came, we thought everyone is going to run away but when you see the smiles on our faces, you know these lions are here for good tidings. I'm actually going to continue to sensitize people, to give more information on the need for people to donate their organ. What will be the use of an organ when you die?
Director News of the NTA, Aliu Bababarao, says NTA will continue to support any group that means well for the development of the nation.
This is the period of change. All hands are to be on deck. That is what Mr. President is always emphasizing. You know, governance is not only government. The people, too, are part of government, stakeholdership, so to speak. And when you have institutions or associations such as the Lions Associations, that they are doing a great deal of service to humanity, it is very, very apt and fundamental.
Lions, as they are called, the group says, is not the lion in the forest, but an acronym for liberty, integrity, our nation, safety. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
Providing decent and affordable mass housing for men and officers of the Nigeria Police Force is part of strategies to curb corruption in the system. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Solomon Arase, stated this at the unveiling of 260 housing units in Kubwa, Abuja. Edino Justice reports.
Good accommodation has been a major issue to the police due to their large population. This scheme, therefore, is a step towards solving the issue of accommodation, which will enable the police officers put in their best. Nigeria is said to have about 70 million housing deficit. As part of its effort to bridge the gap, the Nigerian police says it has acquired over 4,000 housing units nationwide, with over 2,000 at various stages of completion, while under the current IGP Solomon Arase, the police has acquired over 700 units.
Events demonstrate the commitment of the force leadership in addressing one of the main issues of welfare facing personnel of the police by providing quality but affordable houses. Houses are allocated to personnel via a reasonable mortgage arrangement.
The mantra of change, coupled with the IGP's policy thrust, is demonstrated in more ways than one today.
Other speakers commended police effort in bridging the housing deficit, saying it helped to boost productivity. One of the new landlords who got keys to his house is ASP Adedayo Adekunle. From Kubwa, Edino Justice, NTA.
Multi-drug resistant TB, which is a TB strain that cannot be cured with the available drugs. So you use more expensive and more difficult treatment.
So when you know the symptoms, then you can quickly go to a health facility to get proper care.
Director General, Nigerian Institute of Medical Research, said apart from carrying out research, the institution has designed new strategies involving stakeholders to end the TB epidemic by 2030.
As a reference lab, we feed into the Federal Ministry of Health policy. So we do policy briefs, report to the National TB Control Program so that it can be used for planning and management.
At the World Health Assembly in 2014, governments agreed on ambitious 20 years strategy to find, treat and cure TB. The World TB Day is marked annually to reflect on the progress and ways of eliminating the epidemic.
Participants are the unveiling of the next generation ambassadors on drugs and substance abuse prevention project have advocated a holistic approach to curbing the menace of consumption of illicit drugs that is capable of reducing the economic fortunes of the country. Lynn Leneke reports.
Drug abuse and consumption, especially among the youths, are issues of major concern to parents, schools and stakeholders in the country. Investigations revealed that Nigeria's status as transit point in the 80s and 90s has progressed to assuming hard and illicit drugs destination. This situation, however, is a threat to the country, resulting in the increasing threat of consumption by the younger ones being the most vulnerable. It is against this background that the African Youth Initiative, in partnership with the United States Embassy, brought together parents, schools, stakeholders to deliberate on ways to checkmate the activities of the youth.
In Nigeria, you find that there's a lot of people who are abusing tramadol. Tramadol is a painkiller. It has the same effect as you would have as you would have with heroin, or the same effect you would have with methamphetamine.
This is a global issue, really, and there has to be a strategic way of combating illicit drugs in the communities.
It is also meant to create awareness within the society and encourage more people to stay away from drugs, substance abuse and illicit trafficking in view of the negative effects.
When I see our young people, it gives me great joy if they are well molded.
Alcohol is just a type of drug, and that is the one that is giving us great concern.
The event provided opportunity to participating schools to exchange ideas. In Lagos, Lynn Lenake, NTA News.
And if you just join us, you're watching NTA Network News from the Lagos Network Center. The news continues in Abuja with Fumi after these messages. Join us again.
Welcome home, agents. This is your biggest mission yet. We've developed something entirely new. Easy Flex Evolution.
Evolution?
It changes everything the world knows about value. You now can choose between 2 plans. EasyFlex Data Plus, which gives you all the data you need, plus talk time. Or EasyFlex Voice Plus, which gives you 3 times the talk time and includes a data plan. No matter what you choose, you get the best of both worlds.
This is powerful. There's never been anything like it with so much
value. So what's the mission?
There's some who try to keep this from getting out there. Your mission, deliver EasyFlex Evolution to everyone in one piece. Suit up. From now on, it's up to you. You've been briefed.
Finally, our first gig. The whole school is here. And that's when I spotted my secret muse. Ah, that was awful. I froze. I couldn't move. Fruity Fanta. Fanta!
Great flavor. Play it better with.
Does your antiseptic liquid kill the germs that cause flu, diarrhea, typhoid? Dettol does. Dettol provides 10 times more protection versus leading competition. Dettol is the #1 selling antiseptic liquid, proven to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. So why take a risk with your loved ones?
Good moms know how to prepare their kids for greatness by giving them Milo with breakfast every morning. And now, Milo has Active Gold, a special blend of protein, vitamins, and minerals uniquely mixed with
million naira from the renewal of mining licenses in the country. This is sequel to a 30-day ultimatum issued to owners of dormant mining licenses by the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, which lapsed Thursday.
And Mr. President has made that very clear, that for him, agriculture and mining would constitute alternative vehicles for revenue generation and employment.
Available data suggests that Nigeria loses huge sums of money from the non-operation of over 1,500 licenses, in addition to 8,000 jobs. The Central Bank of Nigeria is to raise over 218 billion naira in short-dated treasury bills on the 7th of April 2016. According to the Apex Bank, it will use the Dutch auction system to sell about 55 billion naira, 33 billion naira, and 130 billion naira of 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year debt. Treasury bills are issued by the country as part of a borrowing plan to finance parts of the government budget deficit, help manage liquidity in the system, and curb the growth of inflation. And still on the financial sector, trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange ended on a positive note this last day of March. The all-share index hit a green with a 0.64% increase against a 0.5% depreciation recorded in previous session. And that concludes the business news this hour. Thanks for watching. Good evening.
Many thanks, Vivian. Ugochukwuka in our Benin Network Center has the next set of reports. Good evening, and it's over to you.
Thank you, Fumi, and welcome to Benin. The Nigerian Navy ship Buhari has paraded 8 suspects arrested at different locations within the creeks in Warri's South local government area of Delta State. Steve Lula-Nwokolo reports that the suspects are alleged to have committed offenses ranging from oil theft, possession of explosive materials, to impersonation.
Suspects, the base operation officer, Commander Shehu Tasiu, says 6 of them were arrested on board 2 vessels laden with products suspected to be illegal refined AGO, popularly known as diesel, while the 2 other suspects were arrested for being
in this camp for over a year. Apart from the state government's support of the camp to provide food, clothing and formal education for them, wife of the governor, Mrs. Oshomole, has taken up the task to keep them meaningfully engaged and ensures that when they return home, they can earn a living for themselves and have something to start up with. Mrs. Oshomole says the idea is also to empower them to grow what they eat and produce almost everything they need to survive in the camp. This is the second round of empowerment program by Mrs. Oshomole's Project Focus under the We Care Trust. The first 36 who graduated about a month ago in catering, fish farming, decoration and event planning training will be among those to train the displaced persons. In Benin, Agatha Egwari, Uju, NTA News.
And that's our contribution from this end. Back to you for the continuation of the news.
Many thanks, Ugochukuka. A bit on sports and happenings around the world after these messages. Do stay tuned.
The Rector, Dr. Abubakar Zukogi, the Governing Council, and staff of the Federal Polytechnic Bida Niger State invites the graduates and the general public to the 14th Combined Convocation Ceremony for 2008 to 2015 graduates, scheduled to take place as follows. Friday, 1st of April 2016, pre-convocation lecture to be delivered by Professor Ibrahim Adam Kolo, former Vice Chancellor of IBB University Lapai, with the topic Managing Tertiary Institutions in a Depressed Economy. Venue, the Polytechnic Auditorium. Time, 9 a.m. Alumni Night, under the chairmanship of His Excellency Alhaji Ahmed Mohammed Keso, the Deputy Governor of Niger State, will take place at the Hospitality Management Restaurant, Federal Polytechnic Bida. Time, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Convocation proper. Date, Saturday, 2nd of April, 2016. Time, 10 a.m. prompt. Venue, Convocation Square, Federal Polytechnic Bida. Come one, come all. Chief BC Adeyemi, Registrar, Announcer.
With immense gratitude to God for a life well spent, the family of Elder Joseph Nweze Umahi of Agugu, Omonagubru, in Ohozra local government area of Ebonyi State, announces the transition to eternal glory of their mother, grandmother, sister, and aunt, late Mother Margaret Umahi, who passed on to glory on the 6th October 2015, aged 84. Burial arrangement, Thursday, 31st March 2016. Christian wake and lying in state at her country home, Agugu, Omonagubru. Time, 6 p.m. Friday, 1st April, funeral service and interment at Agugu Umunagubru. Time 11 a.m. Sunday 3rd April, Thanksgiving outing service at Osborne Lopam Hotel Event Center, Agugu Umunaga Uburu. Time 9 a.m. She is survived by children, grandchildren, and host of other relations, including His Excellency Engineer David Nweze Umahi, Executive Governor of Ebonyi State. Adieu, Mother General. May your gentle soul rest in the bosom of the Lord. Amen. Signed, His Royal Highness Ezelaz Umahi Nweze, Ezadu III of Uburu, for the family.
And we begin this segment with global tidbits. South African President Jacob Zuma to repay $6 million within 105 days, and U.S. and China to sign climate treaty. These and more with Talatu Ezurike on Global.
The highest court in South Africa has ruled that President Jacob Zuma has violated the constitution when he failed to repay government money used to upgrade his private home. Reports say that opposition is happy with the ruling, which for them will push for President Zuma's impeachment. Elsewhere, the US and China have issued a joint statement confirming that both countries will sign the Paris Climate Agreement next month and encourage other countries to do so. Also,
monitoring the emergence of horse racing in the state, reports that many youngsters have taken to the sport, which has now grown into an association with over 80 members.
We want to develop the capacity of our riders. We want to effect the rules marking and the regulation following.
The Chika Chukwumerije Sports Foundation, CCSF, has concluded a 3-day intensive grassroots training program for over 85 taekwondists in Benin, Kebbi State. Tagged Inspire the Zones, the training program featured athletes workshop and referee seminar, with participants introduced to modern facilities as well as current roles of engagement in the sport.
And I'm confident that if we keep doing programs like this, we would produce champions, not just for the national stage, but for the international stage.
Having done a similar program in the northeast earlier in the year with northwest coming on the heels, the foundation heads to north central next as it intends to extend the developmental program to all the geopolitical zones of the country within the next 4 months. With sports update, Kenan Imabodike, NTA News.
And next is the weather outlook for Friday.
More thanks for joining us on the weather forecast. Dust has been raised from the source plain in Chad, trajecting the dry, dusty and cold wind into the country. This is anticipated to further cause a deterioration in horizontal visibilities, keeping the northern cities in dust haze, though a few places might witness poorer visibilities of about 1,000 meters or less. The central cities down to the coast will be anticipating partly cloudy to cloudy conditions in the morning, and later in the day, the coastal region